Talk TV. This will be a little bit different than other live streams we've done because this is my first time trying out YouTube's live streaming feature, and I'm doing it off my phone. And I'm joined by Maxime Bernier. Mr. Bernier, pleasure to have you again. It's been almost 2 years since we had you on here before, and as I was thinking about it and thinking about it's been 2 years since you've been on here, the phrase that came to mind, pardon my poor French accent, but I just think plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose.
Yes, plus ça change, plus c'est pareil. You're right.
It seems like a lot of things are the same. Things are so crazy, but let's dive right into it. But there's just, I know you don't want to talk about this, but I just need to rant about it for a second, because before the live stream started, we already had someone moaning and complaining in my chat about, oh, Mr. Maxime Bernier, he bought some mansion, he bought some multi-million villa using our money. I mean, I talked about this last week on Don't Talk TV. I just need to say it again. I mean, it's Mr. Bernier's private life, so I understand he doesn't want to talk about it. But I mean, come on. The man's 61. He worked a career in law and finance before politics. A man's allowed to enjoy some of the fruits of his labor when he gets into his 60s, and being a snowbird and having a place in Florida is, I mean, so many Canadians do that. I mean, how many Canadians do that, Max?
Yeah.
I don't even know, but
no,
thousands.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. As a Quebecer, I'm used to go to Florida, and there's a lot of snowbirds also that are going there during the winter. And my wife bought that house, and as you can see, if you saw some photos, that she just bought that after the hurricane that happened in Sanibel on Sanibel Island 3 years ago. So, and our goal is to be there a couple of weeks during the year. And but that's my private life and the life of my wife. But speaking about the money, and that's her money. She bought that house, and I can tell you that we at the People's Party of Canada. You can go on our website. Our financial statement out there, audited and approved. So it's all by an independent auditor. And the money that we are raising is going to help to build the party. And, I have the same salary since the creation of the party, since 2019, 104,000 a year coming from the party. That's the only money that I have coming from the party. So there's nothing there. They try to discredit me and discredit the People's Party. Actually, the Conservative Party of Canada tried that in 2019 during the last election by saying that we were racist, xenophobe, because our position on immigration is to end the mass immigration. So now it's another, another fake news, and it's all BS. And if you do your research and if you look at our financial statement, you'll see my salary is there, and all the money that we raise is going to pay for our staff, to pay for our head office, to build the party. So everything is there, and we are transparent. And actually, if you go to the website of the Liberal Party of Canada or the Conservative Party of Canada, you won't be able to find their financial statement. For us, it's transparent. It's there. It is there. Yeah. So there's nothing to say there,
Yeah, I was gonna point that out, because actually in preparation for this show, I had a look to see if I found the financial statement for the People's Party right away on the People's Party website. So I thought, oh, I'll have a look at the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. I couldn't find anything anywhere explaining their financials. And then I mean, I'm getting to the point where alternate media is as bad as legacy media when it comes to just spreading lies and saying nonsense so they can get clicks. I mean, not to, obviously there's always going to be exceptions, so I don't want to paint with too large of a brush, but sometimes it feels like that. But let's jump straight into the xenophobia and racism, because that's the fun stuff. And so I mean, the mass immigration, as you said, you've been talking about this for years. And that's where I came back to, the more things change, the more it's the same thing, because here we are. Those chickens are coming home to roost that you're warning about. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, you have a point there. And I just want to say to everybody that, I hope they will have time to go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and read our platform. Because the big difference with us and the liberals and the conservative and all these other establishment political parties is we have a platform. We created that party based on ideas and on four principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And all our policies are in line with that. So we don't do polling and focus group before an election to know what you want to hear. No, this is what we believe in. And speaking about that, mass immigration, ending mass immigration was part of our platform in 2019. And that's still the position of the party because we don't change. We have our platform, and that's always the same until we win the battle of ideas. So it's pretty evident that in Canada we have mass immigration. What is mass immigration? It's easy to define that. Mass immigration, if you look at the immigration in other countries, the growth of our population in Canada last year was about three, not about, was 3.2%. And that growth was coming from immigration. And we didn't do more babies. It's coming from immigration at 98%. So all that growth of our population was coming, and it's still coming from immigration. So 3.2% increase in our population in Canada from last year. So if you look at the average of the Western countries, the OECD countries, the average of their population growth last year was 0.6%. So we are welcoming more newcomers per capita than any other Western countries. And if you want to have more data, the not the last decade, but decades before, the average of permanent immigrants was 200 or 250,000 a year. Now with Trudeau, it's 500,000 a year of permanent immigrants, and you must add to that the foreign workers, the temporary international students, and it was 1.2 million people last year. So that mass immigration has an impact on our way of life, on the housing industry. Renting an apartment in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, prices are going up. And the solution to stop that is to stop mass immigration. And that's the proposal of the People's Party of Canada. And I'm very happy now to see in the mainstream media that people are speaking about that. And when I was speaking about that 5 years ago, I was a racist, a xenophobe, but that's not the case. Nobody will be able to say that against to us because we were right in 2019 and we are even more right today about our position ending mass immigration.
yeah, it seems like it's almost mainstream now to talk about the impacts. And I mean, you mentioned the major cities. I live in, or I work in Stratford, which is a city of 30,000. But even here, rent has absolutely gone to the roof. And even my rent in my office, because my landlord is saying, well, I could evict you and rent your office space out for like $2,500 for residential. So even commercial, I have to pay more just to keep my office because there's that cascade effect. And I think the big difference between growth by immigration or babies is immigration, they come as adults needing a job, needing a house, and everything. Whereas if it's a baby, you've got maybe 18 years before that new person needs a house and all the infrastructure that an adult needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And the solution for Trudeau and Polyev is to build more houses. And actually, I will take the number that Polyev said a couple of months ago, and he was right about that. He said 50 years ago in Canada, we were building about 240,000 new homes every year 50 years ago. And last year, we built around 252,000 homes last year. But last year, the population of our country was 39, sorry, million people. And 15 years ago, it was around 18 million people. So what I'm saying, we are building the same number of houses if you compare that with 50 years ago. For Polyev, the solution is to build more houses. But if you look at the data coming from National Bank and the Canadian Mortgage Corporation, just to meet the demand, we will need to build 700,000 homes just to meet the demands. So Polyev won't be able to do that in 1 year. And actually, the federal government is not the government that is building houses, it's the private sector. But Polyev wants to interfere in provincial jurisdictions by telling municipalities what to do and changing their regulations at the municipal level. We need to respect the Constitution. Polyev won't be able to solve the housing crisis that we have because his solution will take years and years. So the only real solution it's math. It's we need to end mass immigration, and like that, the crisis will go away, and we can do that. And the federal government has the full jurisdictions to do it. Immigration is under the federal jurisdictions. So just end mass immigration and go back to the numbers that we had, 15, 20 years ago, and everything will be okay.
What do we not even need like a moratorium on immigration for a little while to try to get things back under control before we go back to earlier
Yeah.
numbers?
Yes, you have a point there, and I believe that it's the situation is so. Uh, the situation is we are in a crisis right now, and you have a point saying that we must maybe think about moratorium on immigration, and I agree with that. We may have a moratorium for a couple of years. Waiting in time, our standard of living is going down. Inflation is at the roof. It's not 3% like the Bank of Canada is telling us. It's more 6, 7, 8%, the real inflation. And housing is unaffordable, renting is unaffordable. And you have a point there. I believe that it will be time to speak about a moratorium on immigration, to take the time to solve the situation. And after that, going back to the number that we had a couple of years ago.
Mhm. Well, and there's the economic impact we've talked about and the cost of living, all that, but I think there's an impact on culture and what makes Canada Canada. It's just, I mean, people, maybe this isn't racist anymore. About a year ago, it would have still been, you're a Nazi for saying this, but I mean, it's just a fact that if you bring in a bunch of people with a totally different culture, it's going to start changing things. And these people come, for me as a lawyer, they come from countries with different laws, different legal traditions, different views of the law, different interaction with police. And all that really starts changing the way day to day life is in Canada.
Absolutely. We need to speak about that. That is affecting the culture of our country because of mass immigration, but also because of the Multiculturalism Act. We are saying to these newcomers, you can come to our country. You don't have to integrate to our society. You don't have to be part of our culture because you can keep your own culture, and we will promote that. We will give you subsidies to celebrate the new Chinese year. We need to stop that. We need to repeal the Multiculturalism Act, being sure that we won't give subsidies to promote other culture. And if we want to celebrate, we need to celebrate our country, our history, our culture. But we are not doing that. The federal government is promoting multiculturalism by giving money to different ethnic groups to promote their culture. They can do it by themselves. I don't want the federal government to be part of that. So we need actually to end that act for sure. We need also to have an interview with each one of them. If they are coming to Canada, they are coming to Canada to be part of a new country. And right now, what I'm saying, they're coming to Canada only on for the economy. They want to have a better life, and they don't want necessary to be part of our society. So they're coming to Canada, and we have a lot of them, and they're living in a ghetto, and that's not what we want.
Yeah.
Multiculturalism has failed in Europe, in UK, in France, and in Canada. We need to stop that. We need to be sure that they will be able to have a job when they come to Canada, because it's easier to integrate to our society if they have a job. So there's a lot of reform that we must do by about the immigration. So I agree with you. If you come to Canada, you come and you must share our culture. You must also understand that we have a Charter of Rights, and everybody is equal before the law, men and women. And so that must be part. That's why we need to have an interview with them, and to be sure that they are coming here and they will be part of our society.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. I mean, what are they even doing with to test immigrants before they come here? Because when I hear about them opening up, we talked about this, I think, previously when you were on, about opening up the Canadian Armed Forces to non-citizens, and then I was reading, I think, what the numbers off the top of my head was something like 25,000 applied and only like 17 were actually accepted into the forces. I mean, that makes me wonder, are they doing, I'm glad the forces are still doing background checks, but is Immigration Canada doing any background checks on the people that are moving here?
They are not. They are not doing that. We used to do interviews with them, 30 years ago. We are not doing that anymore. And the best example also, Trudeau said that Canada is a post national state. That's not true. We are an identity, and we must be proud of that. But what is happening right now? We had the Roxham Road in Quebec, and people were coming to Canada illegally by crossing that road, Roxham Road. And after a lot of pressure, Trudeau decided to shut down that road. So that was good. But now the new Roxham Road is the airports, Toronto Airport and Montreal Airport. Why? Because the Trudeau government changed a regulation. If you are coming from the third world, you will need to have a tourist visa, to come to Canada. And usually you you had to prove to the embassy in your country that yes, to have a visa, that yes, you have enough money to come to Canada, and you have enough money to go back to your country. You're coming as a tourist. But Trudeau changed that rule, and now they don't have to prove that they have enough money to come to our country and leave our country. So what's happening? There are a lot of people apply for a visa, a tourist visa, coming from the third world, coming from other countries where they need a visa. And when they're at the airport, Montreal or Toronto, they are saying, oh, I'm not a tourist anymore, I'm a refugee. And so there's last year we had about 15,000 of them that came to Canada at the Montreal airport. So we need to stop that. And the same thing for the foreign students. They're supposed to be here to study, and after that they're supposed to leave the country. But now they want to stay in our country. But the deal was not that. The deal was, you have a privilege to come to study here, and after that you go back to your country. But
And now,
now they want to stay, and they're doing protests. And Trudeau and Poilievre said that, oh, it may be good if we give them their permanent resident. So we are telling people, cheat, don't respect the legislation, and we will give you a reward, we will give you a gift, and we'll give you a permanent resident for that.
yeah.
What a message that we are sending to the world.
Yeah, that is the message we're saying, and I think that's an important point. People, again, they might watch this and say, "Oh, these guys are racists," but I mean, I don't even necessarily blame the people who are coming here. They're just doing what they're being told. They're being advertised by our own government of, "Hey, come here. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to adopt our culture. We don't even want you to adopt our culture." I mean, they're canceling Canada Days left and right here in Ontario. I don't know about
Yeah.
Quebec, but I think Guelph just canceled their Canada Day. There was another city nearby, because but they don't cancel Pride parades or any non-Canadian days, but Canada Day of all things, well, that we can't do.
Yeah, Canada Day, only one day. But now you have, the alphabet letters, LGBT, blah blah blah, the rainbow. They don't have a day, they don't have a week, they don't have a month. They have a season now.
Mhm.
So let's put our priorities at the right place. We have veterans that did fight for our rights, and some of them died in wars. And now we have a day for them, but we have more than a month for the trans community. Give me a break.
Mm. Which is a community that really, I mean, it didn't even exist 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I never even heard of that until maybe 10 years ago. Now all of a sudden it's huge. But I'm just looking at the comments here. One person asked about it, actually explain birth tourism. Well, I guess that's a thing in Canada, because in Canada, if you're born in Canada, you're automatically a citizen of Canada,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, correct. And that's part of our platform. We will repeal that act. It won't be, it won't apply anymore under the People's Party government. We are against that. We have a lot of bird tourism that are coming in BC. There's a lot of that. A lady will come just to give birth in Canada to be sure that the baby will be Canadian citizens. That won't be the case anymore. We need to stop that. And I will encourage people to go on our website and read our policy on immigration. It's out there, People's Party of Canada. Click on platform, click on immigration. It's only 2 pages. You can read also our policy on the Multiculturalism Act. It's 2 pages. Everything is there. So it's clear. We have a strong position because we are putting our country first and Canadians first.
So what was the just for viewers who aren't going to necessarily go right over to the website, what is the PPC position on that? Is one of your parents has to be a citizen to get citizenship?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean that's what most countries do. I mean, for example, my wife's Polish, so that's how it works in Poland. But then you don't even need to be born in the country. If one of your parents is a citizen, then you're entitled to citizenship. So
Yeah.
has that that dual aspect. So I know you need to be at another live stream in about 4 minutes. So maybe I'll just let you. Was there, since we only have 4 minutes, is there something else? I'll let you have the floor. If there's a particular topic you want to mention, I'm going to respond to a comment here.
Yeah. But first, I want to thank you for that opportunity, and let's stay in touch. And we'll do other. We'll take more time, maybe. And for me, it's important to be with you and to be with on different podcasts, because that's the way that we are communicating our message. I know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the U.S. is doing that and is very efficient. He will be on Joe Rogan and a small podcast, and that's our strategy. We have the same message. We need to be out there. We are canceled by the mainstream media. So I'm very pleased that you gave me that opportunity, and I'll be ready to be with you another time also. So, and if your viewers want to know a little bit more about the People's Party, just go on our website or follow me on Twitter, Maxime Bernier, on Instagram, Facebook. We will be also on TikTok. I will start that maybe at the end of the summer, but we are on social media, very active. And actually, if you like what you're seeing when you're reading our platform and you want to help us, you can be a member. You can also donate to the People's Party of Canada. And that will help us to grow and to push our ideas and to speak about our ideas. Our goal is, the more people will support our ideas, the more influential we will be, and we will be able to change politics in our country. So thank you again for that opportunity, and let's be together another time.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for coming on, because the flip side of that is you're the only politician or leader of a party that really the average Canadian has access to. Because we've reached out here at Don't Talk TV. We've reached out to the Conservative Party of Canada. I mean, we didn't even get a response, because we're just small, low level regular people, right? We're not a big media outlet. So I think that's important that you do engage with just average Canadians. I mean, really, I consider myself just an average Canadian. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not, some big multi-million viewer subscriber YouTube channel. So I appreciate you coming on, and enjoy your next live stream that you've got.
Thank you very much. Let's stay in touch.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, so that was Mr. Bernier. I'll let him figure out how to log off. I'm still new to this too, trying to figure out how live streaming works on YouTube here. But
Okay.
thanks for joining us. I mean, this was just a chat between myself and Mr. Bernier, so clearly we're not talking legal advice here. We're talking opinions. We touched a little bit on law, but thanks for joining us here on Don't Talk TV. We've got a few. Well, we've got about 17. Well, not about. We have 17 viewers on with us right now. If anyone has any questions before I log off, here's your chance to fire something at me. You've got Don't Talk TV and Mr. Wansbutter on live with you at your mercy for a couple of seconds here. So if I don't have any questions, I'll log off in a minute here. But in the meantime, if you've just recently joined us, we just finished speaking with Mr. Bernier. It's very good of him to come on with us on fairly short notice, but there were a few things I wanted to talk about. A lot of viewers weren't on yet when I covered this, but check out last week's episode for more info on this, because I actually show some pictures as well. But it's his private life, so he shouldn't have to talk about it, but it's a bit of the nature of politics that you have to talk about your private life. I mean, this nonsense about Mr. Bernier buying some multi-million-dollar villa in the tropics, I just had to address that because someone posted, they deleted their comment after I responded to them, but they posted a comment before we started. I show a picture. It's a $1,200 square foot 2-bedroom bungalow that got hit by a hurricane. It's a fixer-upper. I mean, as I said at the beginning of the show, a man's allowed to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Mr. Bernier is 61. He's had a career before politics. And as he mentioned, actually, his wife is the one who bought it. She had a career too. And she bought it with her own money. It has nothing to do with People's Party of Canada money. So I'm just seeing some questions coming through. Kristen Ben, I hope I pronounced that right, Benne, asked, can we send migrants back? I mean, legally, there's no reason why we can't. And in fact, that is done fairly routinely. I see it a lot in criminal law because individuals who are not citizens, if they incur certain criminal convictions, depending on their immigration status, permanent immigrants, if they get 6 months jail or more, they're subject to deportation. People who don't have immigration status, if they get convicted of a criminal charge, they can be deported immediately. So the mechanisms are already there. Certainly in the case of people who've been convicted of crimes, the mechanisms are there for individuals who've overstayed their visa or whatever it is that's allowing them to stay in the country. So now sending back people who've been already granted permanent residence. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so I don't know particularly if there's any mechanisms for revoking that absent a criminal conviction. But, I mean, laws can be changed, of course, right? Canada could change its laws and say that if you've only been in this country for so many years, you have to go back. I think that'd be difficult. It'd be a bit unfair and unjust, I think, to give someone a permanent resident status and then revoke it. I think, practically speaking, in the short term at least, what I was talking about with Mr. Bernier, a moratorium on immigration is certainly a starting point, but eventually down the road there could be remigration, where people are sent back to where they came from because Canada's decided to take a different course. But that would obviously take massive political changes and cultural changes as well, I think. But hope that answers your question. Mr. LeBlanc, thank you very much for your comment there. I appreciate you're thanking me for what I do on this channel, and we're certainly going to keep trying to churn out content as much as we can. You may have seen me commenting a bit on how busy I am since we're on a live stream here, and I'm just kind of riffing on various topics. I can explain a little bit of the situation, why things are so busy. Is the demand for lawyers continues to go up. I've mentioned this on a previous episode that as society, I think it's fair to say it's really disintegrating slowly, but it's disintegrating in all ways. That includes, cost of living, all these things pile up on each other. With the cultural changes that I discussed with Mr. Bernier, these sorts of things, poverty, despair, people who don't have the same cultural values or legal values that we do, leads to more crime. So demand is up, but the supply of lawyers is down because you've got lots of baby boomers retiring, and there are a lot of younger lawyers who just couldn't survive the COVID lockdowns. The law courts in Ontario were shut down completely for 6 months at the beginning of COVID. So younger lawyers just starting out, they just couldn't withstand that. So now you have a smaller pool of lawyers to draw upon. I'm sure Stratford is not unique in that regard. So it's getting more difficult all the time to put out content. We might do a little bit more casual kind of stuff, maybe some more live streams if people like that. We haven't had a ton, but I'm seeing my viewers drop as I speak. So I guess that's a sign for me to shut my mouth and sign off here. I see Canadian Michael asking about what was the episode I talked about alternative media not always telling the truth. We'll have to get back to you on that one because at the top of my head, I can't remember which episode number that was. I know I spoke about that. And we've seen, let me just throw a couple examples before I log off. I mean, the whole thing with Maxime Bernier, that is, that's just a complete hatchet job and basically lies, right? I mean, yeah, it's true that his wife bought a house in Florida, which is technically the tropics, but it's not some villa. He didn't embezzle money from the People's Party of Canada. So there's some alternate media lying for you right there. The whole Pat King thing, I mean, that is one I'm still upset about, where he was going around to all these alternate media. I remember, I won't name any of the shows because I don't feel like, even though I could defend myself, I don't know if they might try going for a lawsuit, but I mean, you can find the archives where he's on these various alternate media saying, oh, he beat his ticket. He single-handedly brought down COVID lockdowns with his charter challenge. And then when the JCCF and then I independently actually looked into this, we found out that that wasn't the case at all. He didn't, his charges were not thrown out. So you can actually check out the JCCF, probably still has the details on that. So you can check that out. Those are two quick examples, but I'll find that show and we'll post it in the comments section here. And yeah, again, if there's interest, I mean, the comments section is going to be open after I log off here. So if there's interest in live streams, maybe with a bit more advanced warning to get more people interested or more people showing up, because I know a lot of people, we don't normally do live streams, so people are generally tuning in probably the next day or days later. But thank you to everyone who did tune in for this live chat with Mr. Bernier, and then a little bit of bonus of me just talking to the interwebs. Thank you for your comments and for the show ideas. We've been trying to be responsive to those. The last several episodes have been in response to questions from viewers, so keep those coming. And always remember, don't talk to the police. And we've done lots of episodes on that about the circumstances. Of course, if you're doing a licensed activity, you have to give them your license. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to talk to them. And also, I'm going to go back to episode 1 again. Don't answer the door if you don't want to, because people, that's probably the most enduring legal myth, is that people think that they have to answer the door. Don't need to answer the door if you don't want to. That's your home. It's your castle. You choose who comes in and out of your house, unless they have a Feeney warrant. That's a specific type of warrant that can only be issued in very specific circumstances to enter a person's home. But, and of course, if you found this or any of our other videos interesting, informative, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. We've had a little bit of a surge. We're still stalled out at about 8,500. We've got to get to 10,000 to get access to more options with YouTube. So please, please spread the word, because channels like this only get spread by word of mouth. So thanks again, and thank you for tuning in, and everyone have a good evening.